Hi, I'm David,
Hi, I'm Yelena.
and welcome to our tutorial on Ardha Baddha Padmottanasana. Half-bound lotus intense stretch pose, or standing half lotus forward bend.
Forward bend, fold.
Yeah, you'll see. Before we go any further, please make sure to subscribe and let us know what you think. Do you like these? You can hit the little like button, or you can comment below.
But just let us know if this was helpful and what else we can do for you.
Okay. All right. So this is a tricky pose. So this is like the second pose of primary series after Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana. And I say this is tricky because you've got three things that are all challenging. You've got balance. You're going to balance on one leg and fold forward. You have a half lotus, which I remember half lotus being difficult when I learned. And this pose being early in the sequence, sometimes you don't feel like warmed up enough, like ready to get into it. So balance, and while you're balancing, you have to do half lotus, and then you have to bind. You have to bring your arm around behind your back and catch your foot, which is challenging as well. If you have tightness in the hip or the shoulder,
shoulders.
plus you're still trying to balance.
And then you gotta fold.
And then you gotta fold, yeah. So there's actually a lot going on in this pose.
So whenever you approach pose like this, the priority is balance, of course, because without the balance, you can't do any of these other things. And slowing down and fixing your gaze are the two most important things to think of when initiating the posture.
Yeah. So maybe we'll just demonstrate the vinyasa for one side. Okay. So from Samastiti, Yekam, inhale, bend the right knee and catch. Dwe, exhale, fold. And the drishti is the tip of the left foot. 5 breaths there. Krini, inhale, your head up. Exhale there. Chitwari, inhale, come all the way up. Ideally still holding the leg. And then pancha, exhale, leg down. Good. All
I
right.
did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So educational. So, Yelena is demonstrating how difficult the pose is.
Yeah, like it's one of those, all of the balancing poses, no matter how many years you've practiced, you will always have days when you have really hard time finding the balance. I think the only thing that's changed for me now is that I don't get angry at myself when I lose balance or I fall out of balance. That's the only change.
No. So Yelena mentioned fixing the gaze. So find something that you can look at. As somebody that wears glasses but doesn't wear them when they're practicing, find something that you can focus on. So if you look too far in the distance, it doesn't work. It's got to be something fairly close, for me, like large and bright. And then, the surface makes a difference. If you've got a really smushy mat, cushy, then it's going to be hard to be stable. So a thin mat, we're using our life form, is really good. They're thin, but they're, dense enough that they cushion. Don't do it, on a mattress or anything like that.
Or sometimes when people show up, like for the first few times, they come with those gym mats.
Oh yeah, they're really,
They're for a completely different purpose, and they're really hard to balance on.
Yeah, a good mat is a good investment for balance. And then what I find really makes a big difference is ambient light. So if it's dim in the room, that spins me out so much. And Ashtangis are often practicing at hours of the day that are dark. So if you're having a lot of trouble with balance, try turning up the lights if that's possible. It really helps. Okay, so we start with the right leg first. So once we've got our balance, then we're going to bring the right leg up into half lotus. So we're going to follow our half lotus rules. We have a knee health video that you should check out. We talk about how to close the knee joint. And Yelena is going to demonstrate that by closing the knee and bringing the foot straight into position. Here, see, the knee is closed, and she worked from the thigh, lifting it up. So that was like external rotation and abduction. And then she's going to go deeper into external rotation and adduct to bring the leg into place. So the foot ends up right at the hip crest, like the top of the thigh where it meets the hip. She wants to do that, close the knee joint and pull the leg into position instead of pulling the foot up like this. This is torquing the knee joint here. The shin bone is lifting higher than the thigh, and it'll hurt after a while. So don't do that, okay? Careful. So you close the knee joint and then drop the knee to bring the foot into position. And this is going to be about your hip mobility. So if you have tight hips, if it's hard to move from your hip, get your leg into spot, then it's going to be hard to get the foot into position. Don't put up with knee pain, all right? Modify instead. If it hurts, modify. So we call this flamingo pose. You're just going to, I just said it on.
It's like
holding myself up for balance.
Me.
Oh, look, it's Goku. I don't know if you can see him or not. He's not that good at hitting his mark. Anyway, so I'll stop leaning on Yelena. Yelena is going to turn the foot out, knee out, just like we did at the beginning of the half lotus, but she's not going to close the knee joint nearly as much, just at more or less a right angle here so that the ankle ends up just above and outside the knee, the opposite knee, and like a four shape with her legs like that. This is a great position because it'll stretch your hip without, hurting your knee. Okay, good. And then she'll come down. Usually, you might bring both hands down at the same time first. That's fine. We teach this to beginners a lot. And then you could work at bringing the other arm around behind as though you're going to bind. And so you'll get the benefit in the shoulder of the stretching the arm behind you. And then drishti again down there. So this is a great modification if half lotus is an issue for flamingo. And this way you get to work on your balance too. Okay? All right. What else? If you're having trouble binding, then this is what we see a lot of the time is when people are reaching, they're pulling the knee back. Can you see how Yelena's knee is going back and away? So that's going to influence where the foot goes, right? Because the foot is attached to the knee via the shin. So we want to try to keep squeezing the knee down and in as we bring the arm around behind us. That's going to bring the foot closer to the hand behind the back. If you can't catch when you're standing, that's okay too. Don't stress too much about it because your knee is still vulnerable in this spot. So you could always just come forward here, and then once the hand is down on the floor, you might be able to find your foot then. Okay, sometimes that's an easier way to do it. Same with coming up. You might need to let go of it on the way up. That's all right as well. Just, don't push too hard in this posture because it's not super stable.
Another thing that you can do is, and you might have noticed that I did it just now, and I did it for modified version as well, is bending the standing leg. And simply by bending the leg, we engage muscle within the leg, and it helps us also if we're doing the full lotus, or if we're doing the half lotus. When I bring my leg up here, if I bend, you can see how it gets trapped a little bit, and I'll even fold, and the fold is what David was talking about. It helps you trap, and then sometimes you can find it here, or sometimes you got to do what David said, go all the way down, and then find the vine when you're more balanced.
Creates a little shelf.
Mm-hmm.
And if your tendency is hyperextension in the knee, just be careful of that standing leg, that you're not pushing back through the back of the knee. I see that sometimes. Once you're all the way in the position, keep the back of the knee, micro bent, just a little bit soft, so that your leg is nice and strong.
Another thing that we should mention is that sometimes people get dizzy coming back up from the asana. So maybe you've noticed that you're okay going down. So what's important to pay attention here, so we have this little inhale, lift the head up, and exhale, but tendency is often for us to really exaggerate that idea of lifting the head, and we kind of create a lot of tension in the back of the neck. So see if you can let go of that a little bit, because that almost kind of stops the circulation, and it's that will kind of make you dizzy as you're coming up. So see how here David has come up and straightened the arm, but there's no really wrinkling in the back of the neck. And so now when he's coming up, he's not leading with his head, but but rather he's pushing through the lower belly to make the movement all the way up. And it will also create a lot more stability because you keep the gaze fixed somewhere on the floor as opposed to coming in this arched position, which isn't good for you no matter what.
Finally, last thing I'll mention is that this hand that's on the floor, try to bring it back so it's in line with your foot, just to be tidy. So fingers in line with the toes.
Nice and organized.
And the elbow toward the calf, so you're not, holding the shoulder up by the ear.
Yeah, and creating a lot of tension up here.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
You got it?
Well, hopefully that was useful. Let us know by commenting, liking, and subscribing to our channel.
Bye.
Bye.